I don't see much. I don't see how many people we have in the audience, but appreciate you guys coming. Really excited to be here with you guys. Raph,
you're so far away.
It's nice. I mean, we have some people that are standing in line that are forced to watch us, you know.
Of course, no, the line is for us.
Yeah.
For us to perform. So, my name is Jan. I'm from Xverse, the leading Bitcoin ecosystem wallet. Excited to be here. Guys, short introductions, and let's get into it.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Brian. I go by Brushstar on the interwebs. I'm co-founder of OrdinalsBot. We were the first ever inscription service, making it really easy for people to inscribe stuff on Bitcoin. I've been growing with the space for the last year and a half. It's been a crazy year and a half. Really exciting for Bitcoin. I was here this time last year in Miami, so it's really great to be back this year in Nashville. And yeah, looking forward to talking to you all.
Raph.
Hey guys, I'm Raph. On the internet, I'm Raph Japh. I'm the lead maintainer of the Ordinals protocol and also the CTO of Inscribing Atlantis. I'm excited to be here talking about how to onboard a bunch of new users with Ordinals protocol did exactly that. So we're going to be revealing our tricks and telling you how to get new users.
Let's do it. Alec.
I'm Alec, co-founder of Oil Dynamics. We have an infrastructure and data business. Allows you to kind of build a lot of stuff on top of Bitcoin and create custom indexes and meta protocols. And we also built a wallet that we're launching next week with an ordinal collection. Excited to be here.
Let's go. Well, I'm super excited to be here. I think Nashville is super bullish in my point of view. I think, some of the onboarding is happening here. Definitely I think this is probably one of the biggest, maybe the biggest Bitcoin conference ever. So I think, this is definitely part of it. But, so Raph, for you, obviously you guys have been, in Bitcoin and specifically Ordinals from basically day zero. And so, what do you guys have cooking, or what do you think is really important, aspect when it comes to actually onboarding people from other ecosystems and onboarding kind of the maybe even crypto newbies into Bitcoin?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that the general first shock reaction from it is Ordinals are blocking the Bitcoin chain with this bullshit JPEGs and stuff. So I think that's the initial reaction. And we've got a booth over here, and that's I love it when those people come to our booth and say that to us, because then it's let's have a conversation. Let's actually talk about it, because in my opinion, basically, yes, of course, there's been more transaction fees, but is that not what we want on Bitcoin? We want people using Bitcoin. Is it perfect? No, but it's opened up a lot of conversations. So I think that in terms of onboarding, it's started an amazing wave of creativity, artists, VCs. I mean, a year and a half ago, I was a web designer, and now I have a company on Bitcoin with 12 people. We're fully funded, all because of Ordinals, basically. So, in my opinion, it's been the best thing that could ever happen to Bitcoin for opening conversations, making it fun again, and getting exciting. And it's only a year and a half later, so these conversations are still happening. But we're seeing a lot of artists coming into space, a lot of great IPs as well. It's still really early, but we're growing strength to strength. And it's, in my opinion, bullish for Bitcoin.
How are they, you just mentioned artists, and, you guys work with a lot of different IPs as well. I know that. I mean, I don't know how much alpha you can share, but I think just to follow up here, how are they discovering Bitcoin? These, let's say IPs or big brands, they want to work with you guys, they want to come here. How did they learn about it at the first place? Is it you guys educating them and kind of pulling them in? Or is it hey, they heard about it somewhere and they come find you?
Yeah, I think that most IPs or artists, let's say, who have been looking at Web3 in general, and maybe they've seen what other people done on Ethereum. So they've probably had conversations what can we do in Web3? And then if that conversation has happened with one of their team members, more than likely they've heard about Ordinals, and now they've probably went to that person and says, hey, there's a big movement happening now on Bitcoin. Everybody knows Bitcoin. We think we should get involved. So I think that they've just seen the hype and the wave that's happened with Ordinals, and it's reignited their kind of Web3 plan, let's say. And then that's what's they've got in touch with us or other projects in the space to say hey, okay, we're really interested. How do we do this? And that's what we love. We love starting from the ground and saying okay, what are you trying to inscribe? Well, I want to inscribe a 1 hour 4K movie. And you're okay, well, you can't do that. So let's figure out what you can do. And it's a whole process to see, what we can actually do on chain. And the beauty of inscriptions, and the man here who built the thing is sitting next to me. So it's I'm sitting here talking I know what I'm talking about, and he built the thing. But, the beauty of inscriptions is basically any data can go on chain. from JPEGs to videos to 3D files, you name it, you can put it on chain. So, and the real unlock for me especially was HTML and JavaScript. So the whole web is powered by HTML and JavaScript basically, and you can now store these things on chain as an actual application, and that unlocks a lot of amazing use cases. So we can get really creative. If someone's coming to us, we can get super creative with what we want to do for them.
So Raph, to you, obviously, as a lead maintainer, you get a lot of developers, asking you for more stuff, and like, how do we make it easier for us to build additional stuff? Like, how do you look at that? Like, obviously we know that the Ordinals protocol is not going to change all the time, and so, how do you look at, kind of that underlying infra, what you need to kind of build, what you need to have, in terms of allowing other people to build stuff so that we can actually get users, etc. So from your point of view, like, how do you kind of look at building stuff that is needed?
Yeah, like I just do like the low-level protocol work. Like what I really like when we launched this was that all of a sudden like all of this new attention like from developers, from users came, and it's literally before Ordinals there was no browser wallet to speak of. Like there was no Bitcoin browser wallet you could use. And now with Ordinals there was this like really need to have a browser wallet so you can interact with your inscriptions. And then now we have like 5. Like we have experts, of course, we have Magigan, Unisat, and like a bunch of others. Phantom. Like now we have like actual cool tools that users can use in the front end in the browser to interact with Bitcoin. So that was like the first really cool thing kind of I saw. And the users that are coming are also sometimes completely new to Bitcoin. So we had Inscribing Nashville conference like 2 days ago, and I spoke to some people, and they only came to Nashville for the Ordinals conference, only came to the Inscribing Nashville conference. So these are like completely new users that like start using Bitcoin through Ordinals and inscriptions. So very, very, very cool to see. So I like kind of say that Ordinals and inscriptions are kind of a Trojan horse. Like people are like, oh, this is some cool art. Like, how do I get that? And then they buy it, and all of a sudden they own Bitcoin.
100%.
And then they're orange pilled. So yeah, it's a really nice trick.
Yeah, and like from your perspective, obviously what you guys do at the Institute, obviously it started with Ordinals, right? Ordinals protocol. Like a couple months ago, Runes protocol. What else? What else are you cooking? What else are you building? I know you're always into something, Like what else? How else are we going to onboard the new Bitcoiners?
Yeah, we had Ordinals first, then we had inscriptions. Now we have Runes. I'm also kind of the CTO of Inscribing Atlantis, so yeah, we do conferences. I'm also now like making my foray into like a little more of the application space. Like as I said, I was doing like the core protocol work. Then of course I did like a little bit of inscribing. I helped some artists out, like bringing them over, like artists that had never done digital art, like started doing artists from other chains, bringing them to Bitcoin. And now like I'm working on like my own little like collection with a couple others, where we also kind of try to build like a really cool kind of way to interact with Bitcoin. It's called like ephemera.gallery. That's a website, and you kind of bid for sat dates. So sats are the basic unit, and you kind of bid for a date that you think is special. Then we kind of go out, we collect that sat for you, and then we inscribe something on there for you. And people really love like having something that means something to them, and especially like with sats, the beautiful part of it is like sats are born at a specific point in time, when they're mined. So it's really cool to kind of have this so much texture to play around with. Like Casey really did a great job kind of building this whole world that people can now play in. Like it's just like a big RPG, and we're all just playing around.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I want to learn more about the last thing that you mentioned, the project, a little bit later. But Alex, so obviously you mentioned that you guys are building a lot of infra at your company, right? And I think I hear it all the time, right? Like, hey, Bitcoin is like simple. We don't have sophisticated smart contracts, but actually, many people kind of struggle with building on Bitcoin. Like especially if they're coming from other ecosystems, because like, hey, it's different, right? Like it's not as the other chains. So what are some of the obstacles that you see, and obviously what you guys do, to kind of eliminate them, or like to make sure that it's easier for people to come build applications and then obviously get users through that?
Yeah, I think like Bitcoin for the longest time, has a lot of kind of programmability, and applications have moved to other ecosystems. And I've built on kind of the Ethereum side for a long time, but I'll say like when I saw the Ord protocol team build Ordinals, it was almost like this. It was almost felt like taking a hallucinogenic. Like you're able to hallucinate what the future might look like on Bitcoin, Now we have this thing that allows you to create art and issue like assets purely on chain on this this protocol that is the most secure and robust and resilient blockchain that exists. And for me, it's like this opportunity to kind of create this space to really orange pill people into like actually making Bitcoin useful in different ways and kind of consumer use cases. And so for us, like really, Bitcoin's model is completely different, but what I like about like Ordinals and Runes is it creates almost this like augmented reality lens on top of the state of Bitcoin that's attached to like Bitcoin technology. And people like have kind of come together to go and build wallets to figure out how to use partially signed Bitcoin transactions, to kind of change the UTXO model, to build infrastructure around dust limits and like inscriptions. And so for us, it's like, okay, how do we take this foundational technology and almost look at what consumers have done in other ecosystems and redesign that to fit Bitcoin's unique design and also its culture itself. And so for us, we've built this really robust data product, and this product that allows you to go and take and build on top of the inscription model, the UTXO model, and Runes, and go and kind of like really explore and build long-tail development to go build applications directly on Bitcoin layer 1. And so I think like it's created this huge ecosystem of people trying to solve a lot of these problems on different layers, whether it's a layer 2, and like a lot of people like to go back to the hallucinogenic, people are hallucinating for sure, but we're like, how do we go build this like sound technology that is robust, that's enterprise grade, that really enables people to kind of like go and experiment on this and kind of see where it goes. And so for us, like I think that's super critical to both have something that people that have developed in other ecosystems to say, okay, like seeing is believing, we now have enough information where we can kind of go and experiment and build, and that's what we're really trying to enable a lot of that competition.
Yeah, absolutely. Like at the end of the day, it's like it starts with getting developers to build experiences, right? And then once you have those experiences, once you have those products, can be wallets, can be marketplaces, can be tools, minting tools, auction sites, then you basically have something to offer to the customers, to the users, right? And so, I mean, Raph, from your perspective, like, what is something that maybe is like most challenging for you guys, like to when it comes to building on Bitcoin? Like, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face as a company that is building a lot of infra too?
It's a great question. I mean, none of this stuff existed a year and a half ago, right? I mean, the protocol arrived, and I think Casey openly admitted, and you guys were not ready. They just launched it because you're like, YOLO, let's launch it, and didn't expect a massive people to use it. So the actual protocol wasn't finished in your guys' mind in January. So as builders, we had to like keep up with those guys in updates, because obviously the updates that we're doing were bug fixes and new features, and we wanted to obviously offer that to our clients as well. So that was a challenge at the beginning, to try and keep up with you guys in terms of making sure that we're always up to date with the OR protocol. And then, obviously, in terms of like marketplaces and things like that, there's no smart contracts in Bitcoin, right? So I didn't even know the term PSBT before Ordinals, basically, but now the whole ecosystem is run by them, basically. The whole marketplace ecosystem on Ordinals is propped up by PSBT technology, which is super cool, by the way. And then inscriptions.
Simplicity, right?
Right,
Simplicity
exactly, yeah, exactly. And they're actually a little bit more secure than smart contracts, right? Because, it's for various reasons that I won't get into, but inscription service was not a term before we launched something, right? So that's pretty cool. So yeah, as I say, it's all new technology, it's all built on Bitcoin, and we've spent the last year and a half, not just me, but all the other teams, like yourself and Oil and everybody else, building all these products on top of this protocol, which is now in a really great position thanks to these guys. So it's been a year and a half of like solid building, and the guys have got in early, right? You've got some really early communities there, but it's really just the beginning. If you look at Ethereum back in the day, it took like 4 years before MetaMask even had NFTs in it. And now it's like a year and a half later, and we've got like full-fledged marketplaces, really rich wallet experience with like Runes and Ordinals all built into it. So the amount of like the speed that this has all been developed is incredible. And now it's like everyone's starting to wake up to it. And now I think the next year is just got to be a massive adoption. Basically, you'll see amazing artists, amazing communities coming to Ordinals and Sizzle Bitcoin. And I mean, we're talking about Ordinals at the Bitcoin conference. You can't get better than that.
Yeah, again, and I want to go back to that point that I mentioned, that like on one hand it's about developers and then users too. I think, Raph, I actually like your story quite a bit because I remember you kind of started with Casey as an intern, right? Kind of like helping him to like make this happen. And am I wrong? Like, you basically didn't do anything on Bitcoin before, right? Like actually building stuff in Bitcoin before you jumped into Ordinals. Is that correct?
Yeah, so first of all, I prefer the term apprentice.
Okay, apprentice.
Like, engineering is a very very,
love it.
You have this very tacit knowledge that needs to be like passed on. So I kind of like to think that I'm an apprentice. He's like the master, and then I'm learning.
Do it.
So I think I had for a long time I had apprentice in my bio. So
you're right. I remember
that's a better kind of mental model of how to think about it. And yeah, before I started working with Casey, I was very interested in Bitcoin. So I was diving very deep into the technicals. I contributed to like some like Nostra libraries. Like Nostra is this like a Twitter alternative. And my first Bitcoin conference actually, I got a developer ticket because I had a commit to a Nostra repo where I in Go I implemented like direct encrypted messages for Go libraries for Nostra. So I actually got into the Bitcoin conference because of that, not because of Ordinals. So I did a little bit of like stuff, and then also like I was very interested in Lightning. Like I did some very very like stuff on the edges. I tried every Lightning node out. So I did a lot of like Bitcoin stuff before, but it was always like in my free time. So I was a student at the time. I was just like doing it because it was fun.
Yeah, that's what I remember. I remember that you were kind of doing it part time, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then I found like I had followed Casey on Twitter for a while, and I was like, oh yeah, he seems to be a smart person. Like he knows what he's doing. He had funny tweets, and he also had like technical tweets. And then at some point, I saw on my feed he was working on this Ordinals thing, and so I checked out the repo and was like, oh, this is quite cool, but I didn't know any Rust at the time. Kind of forgot about it again, and then I saw it pop up again, and then I had some more free time. I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down, learn some Rust, and just start contributing. And then I think I did a small PR, and then out of that, we started working regularly together. Like we would meet on Discord. I was in Germany at the time, so I would like work from 7 p.m. until 3 in the morning just coding with Casey. It was a great time. Like it really supercharged my learning. Like I learned so much Rust in such a short time. And then we brought this thing out. Like it was very cool to work on it.
No, exactly. And why I'm bringing up this story is really like how difficult is it for somebody who is maybe not so deep in Rust and Bitcoin and the Bitcoin development to actually pick it up? Because right now, you're not only maintaining the protocol, but you're also building these like user-facing applications, auction sites, etc. So like, I would love to kind of understand. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a developer myself, but like, how difficult is it to pick it up? If obviously you have some other knowledge, but to get deep into Bitcoin.
So yeah, the kind of core reference client is written in Rust, but you don't need to know Rust to kind of do stuff with Ordinals. Like the nice thing about this now is that a lot of like new tooling has been like built around everything. For example, you mentioned PSBTs. Like before this, PSBT was a very like niche standard. Like it was used, but more like in the internals of software. And now everyone who uses like Bitcoin Ordinals knows what a PSBT is. It's like very user-facing. People know about it. So what I also like about it, you slowly kind of reveal the complexity to the users. Like you reveal that actually, Bitcoin have addresses, but what you actually like work with is UTXOs, and what you actually work with is PSBTs. So like slowly kind of showing kind of this complexity is very. It has been very nice to kind of see that users can actually learn that. And right now, I think there's a lot of tooling, written in JavaScript or TypeScript. So many of the websites, the front ends, the wallets, they use JavaScript. So as a new developer, it's very kind of easy to kind of start out there now. And like I also kind of now work more on the front end side. So I have a very cool person I work with, Michael. He used to have a fiat job, and I pulled him out, or we pulled him out, and now he works with us, and he loves it. Like,
nice.
We've been building this cool auction site. I'm also not a front end dev. But like I have the Bitcoin knowledge, he has the front-end dev knowledge, and like together we're kind of building using all these new like JavaScript libraries, building like nice interactive front ends, connecting to Xverse, and like signing PSBTs, signing into like register for a website, like message signing in Bitcoin. I recently implemented BIP322 for Rust. There was like BIP322 is like generic message signing, so that you can kind of sign for an address you own and kind of identify yourself. I'm going to open source it at some point. It's still a private repo.
Nice.
So it's cool to see just like all the tooling built out and like pulling people from their fiat jobs into the Bitcoin space.
Let's get those developers here.
They really flower. Can you say that? Like they really They really love it. Like,
There's a lot of Star Wars references here. You're an apprentice. You're pulling people to the dark side. Casey's Palpatine. Like, it's just so weird.
Yeah, this is all evil. Don't use Ordinals.
Okay. Well, let's not go in that. But so, Alec, from your perspective, what is missing? Like, what else do we need? Like, obviously, we need a lot of more applications, etc. But like, do we need more standards? You know, you guys are building a lot of that, the tooling, etc. So, like, what do you think is like the immediate thing that we as an ecosystem should be working on to make sure that we make it easier for developers and, you know, then ultimately lead to more adoption?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two sides of it. There's like the user side, and then there's the developer side. And I think from a developer perspective, I think there needs to be enough like tools and flashlights and examples of people building things, and then like seeing needs to be believing. You need developers to go build things that are easily discoverable. The data is transparent. The data is at the right grain of the activity users are trying to go and do. And so for us, like, you know, we built this wallet on top of our infrastructure product. And really, like, I would say, like, the core feature of it that I think I'm the most, like, happy with is we have, like, this transaction feed that actually puts the indexing data that's happening with these actual the assets that are happening through the indexing layer, and it really ties into the activity that they're doing. So I think, like, the UTXO model is really difficult to, like, explain to the end user and to new developers. But if you can say, like, here's something that an abstraction that I understand, like issuing an asset, purchasing it, trading it, like collecting art, you know, participating in an auction, playing a game. If you can actually have the data that says the user has this intent and that they're doing this activity, and then there's like a way to go explore and discover that, and then go see an open source way to see what people have built, and then go build on it, fork it, change it, go do something else. I think that that's extremely critical. And so for us, like, that's been one of our one of the bigger proponents, I think, of open source technology. We've helped start Layer 1 Foundation with the BRC20 team. We maintain like 30 open source repos. We maintain the SHA-256 TypeScript implementation, and we built all this boilerplate that allows people to go do it. And so now it's like, okay, how do we go have people build these flashlights to make it really easy to be like, here's actually what's happening, here's the liquidity, here's how people are trading, here's like a program that someone went and built, how do we go replicate that and easily go explore that through wallets or other ecosystems. So I think that for us, like, that's super, super critical. And then like attracting more developers to build these experiences. Yeah. So not only for consumer side, but people that are building, you know, applications that maybe are looking at other ecosystems but truly want to have this welcome home experience to go build on Bitcoin.
Nice. So guys, we have probably a couple minutes left. So let's maybe switch to the user end. So Raph, like, what do you think is going to be some, let's say, killer application, killer thing that is going to get a lot of people excited in this kind of next cycle, right? Because obviously we have seen Ordinals, you know, like art, and obviously that's not going away, but like that was kind of the first wave of excitement, right? NFTs on Bitcoin. Then the next wave was the fungible tokens, BRC20s and Runes now. So what do you think is going to be like, let's say, the next wave of one of those things that is going to get people excited? Yeah, beyond these things.
If you look at the trajectory that Ethereum took in 2021, it was kind of the opposite. They had fungible tokens first. So you had like shitcoin mania basically on Ethereum, 1 million rug pulls. And then once all those rug pulls things, the people tried to scam everyone with NFTs, so then the NFT market boomed. But then you had also DeFi summer as well. So I think that the next natural progression of Bitcoin might be BeFi, you know, Bitcoin DeFi. Potentially, like, let's start staking these things on a protocol level. You know, Casey wants the intergalactic shitcoin casino, so let's make some casinos, right? Let's make some games and some use cases for these runes, you know. So I think that's now that all the protocols and things and the tooling companies are bedded in. Let's see the applications now. You know, let's see what people have got to build in terms of, you know, gaming and all sorts of cool things. So I think that's got to be the next wave is something along the lines of DeFi.
Nice.
I think the most important part is kind of building a good user experience around it, because good user experience to like get people into Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin or money in general is very abstract. So the more concrete and graspable we can make it, either through ordinals or inscriptions or good user interfaces or good wallets, the better it is, the more people we get into Bitcoin, and that's what we all want, you know. We want people to actually understand Bitcoin, like feel like it's a real thing, you know. So I think that's the most important part about it.
Alec?
Yeah, I think we've had Ordinals, runes, BRC20s. It's you can issue them. They kind of fit Bitcoin's ethos in terms of how they're distributed. We've got simple technologies like DLCs and PSBTs, but PSBTs are really single-sided and requires someone to list something. People have to build infrastructure around it. And so I really think the next thing is how do you actually build an ecosystem where you can create double-sided liquidity. There's incentives to go and do so. It's safe, it's secure, and people can go build experiences around that. How do you go extend things like runes or BRC20s, or even just increase the experimentation to go and do that? And how is it, to Raph's point, how is it different from other ecosystems? I think there's kind of a term going around slow-fi on Bitcoin layer 1, right? As opposed to Solana, pump.fun, just instant gratification, instant dopamine hit. It's how
is that coming to Bitcoin then?
Yeah, I mean, I think people are experimenting it across different levels, whether it's pure layer 2, where people are kind of saying, okay, we built an EVM layer 2, and hopefully we'll figure out the bridge thing at one point in time. But I think it's really difficult in the midterm to get the assets to move over to a different layer, because issuance happens on layer 1, people want to hold those assets on layer 1. And so I think people are solving these problems in a lot of different ways, and there's it's interesting to see different approaches from a more centralized approach.
Yeah.
Something that's purely EVM, something that's layer 2, something for us interesting on the motor protocol and indexing layer. But I think there will be more experience that happen, which I think will increase the demand both in the user and developers.
Nice. So as we are wrapping up,
we're running over.
We're already
have time for one.
Okay, so just a couple seconds. Where can people find you? I mean, we have a booth. If you guys need a Bitcoin wallet for all this broader ecosystem, go to our booth. Raph, how can people connect with you, find you?
Yeah, so you've got Twitter, go to OrdinalsBot. You can find us, slide in our DMs. Shout out to Raph though for moderating, man. Check out the Ordinals show every week. He's a co-host. These guys, it's a great source of information for Ordinals, so definitely check that out.
Raph?
Yeah, go to the GitHub. github.com/ordinals/ord. Check it out. There's a bunch of links there. You can also follow me on Twitter. I'm the Scooby-Doo, Raph Japh. Yeah, go there. I always want the developers. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Alec? Yeah, you can find us at Oil Wallet, OYL, on Twitter. It talks about kind of our wallet, more of the consumer stuff. If you're interested on some of the stuff we're doing on the developer end, I would follow our CTO. He's at JudoFlexChop.
Nice. Thank you guys. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.